such as communication, effective communication, dating, divorce, separation, domestic violence, and so much more with Pastors Paul Joseph and Sister Fiona Joseph. Good morning. How are you all doing?
A pleasant good morning, Verna. A pleasant good morning to all of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Pastor Paul Joseph. Unfortunately, my wife Fiona was unable to make it this morning.
Sure.
So I guess you're stuck with me.
That's not a problem at all. We have a lot to cover. So this is a marriage seminar that you're having. When exactly is this seminar?
Right. This seminar is Marriage Matters 2. It's hosted by the Church on the Rock, Buccoo. Certainly, I'm the pastor of the Church on the Rock, Buccoo. It will be held in the Scarborough Auditorium on Saturday, January the 20th, 2018. The starting time is 3:30 p.m. and it starts at 4 p.m. All are invited. And just a reminder, the 20th of January is actually tomorrow. So tomorrow evening, we'll be in the library tomorrow evening.
So this is the second time that you're having a seminar of this nature.
Correct.
How was the first?
The first was excellent. In fact, after we had the first seminar, immediately after, we got a lot of positive results from persons attending, in that they were more enlightened and aware of the issues impacting marriage. Also, a point to note, this seminar is not just for married couples. This seminar is for persons who desire to be married. This seminar is for persons who don't even desire to be married. This seminar is for persons who are divorced, persons who are separated. And everybody and anyone is welcome and invited. Our doors are open. And the best part of it is that it is free.
All right, that's wow. Okay, I didn't expect that. That's great. Okay, so you said that it's not just for married persons; it's also for single people who possibly desire to be married in the future. So, would you also be talking about qualities that you look for in a partner, conflict resolution, compatibility? Are those areas that you will be focusing on?
Absolutely, Verna. You hit the nail on the head. You see, my observation has been that the challenges that a lot of marriages face today, these faults are established very early in the marriage. In fact, a lot of these faults were established and they take root in the dating process. There's a flaw in the way people approach marriage. There's a flaw in the way people approach dating. There's a flaw in the way even ministers approach counseling. I'll share an experience with you, Verna. Just before I got married, I sat in a counseling session with one Pastor Bacchus. And in fact, Pastor Bacchus would be on the panel as well. And when I finish this, I'll share the members of the panel, right? And I sat in a counseling session with Pastor Bacchus, and he asked me a series of questions pertaining to my family background. And after I answered the questions, he said to me, Paul, he said, you come from a broken home. And I said to him, Pastor Bacchus, I don't come from a broken home. And I was very adamant about the fact that I didn't come from a broken home because I felt as if my home was just fine. Although my parents were separated, I felt as if I was just fine. My sibling and my relationship was good. When we get together, we'd have fun, we'd play like a happy family. When my parents got together, they would have fun, they would talk, they would laugh, they would reflect. So for the rest of the counseling session, I basically argued with Pastor Bacchus, and I tried to prove to him that my background was fine. And in fact, I came from a broken background, and here I was in ministry. Here I was a grown man, about to be married, and not realizing that I came from a broken background. And this is the challenge. People come from broken places, and you have a broken man and a broken woman. They come together and not realizing the extent of the dysfunction. And they enter a marriage arrangement and they begin to experience problems because a lot of times the foundation is so poor and they are so broken that they have challenges with basic things like communication and conflict resolution, running of a home. You know, so that's why we intend to open the doors to everyone so that people who are dating, people who are not married are welcome to come so that we could get the entire everything correct from the foundation. The foundation must be correct. It's as if you're building a building. The quality of the structure, the durability of the structure depends on the quality of the foundation. And foundations are tricky. Oftentimes, you don't see the foundation of a building, but the foundation plays a critical and a key role. And I believe this is one of the main reasons why marriages are falling apart. Left, right, and center, they are falling apart. And we take no pleasure in this. In fact, we stand against this.
All right.
So this is the motivation for this Marriage Matters too.
Okay. So my producer is asking a very interesting question, but I'd like to rephrase it slightly. But what he's saying,
sure.
The question is, will you go to hell if you don't get married? A lot of times, it seems as though the order of the day is shacking up open lifestyles. But my question to you is that people say marriage is definitely ordained by God. It's something that God blesses. But
Absolutely.
Is that really where it ends? What is the purpose of marriage, and what does marriage represent? Is there something deeper than it being just ordained by God?
Absolutely. I tell you something, and Trinidad and Tobago to understand me very clearly. And I believe most people will be able to attest to the fact that I'm about to highlight. It's very simple. It's easy. There are many people who live together, or in our culture, we say shack up, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, successfully, no problems. And then they decide to walk down the aisle and all hell breaks loose. All of a sudden, a couple that could get it right without major problems for 3-4 decades, cohabiting, living together, shacking up, cannot get it right for 30 months. And that is no accident. If you look around, the statistics will show, and it's so disheartening. A lot of people look at marriage in a negative way, and they say, you know what? If my relationship is not broken, I'm not going to fix it. But I stand against that, and the entire ministry stand against that, because the Bible doesn't encourage shacking up at any point. Marriage is deeply significant, not just in a civil perspective, it's significant in a spiritual perspective. When you join yourself in marriage, something changes in the spirit realm. And this is why counsel is important, because a lot of times people get married not being very cognizant of exactly what they're getting themselves into. Marriage is extremely beautiful when you get it right. Marriage is extremely fulfilling when you can get it right. Marriage is extremely satisfying when you can get it right. And what's beautiful about marriage as well, and interesting when it comes from the biblical perspective, is that it was actually established in the beginning. When you turn the Bible to Genesis, and you know God created the stars and the firmament and the moons and the sun and all these kind of wonderful things. Immediately after came marriage, came Adam, and he took the rib. You know the story?
Of course.
From Adam, right?
Yes.
And they both became one flesh. So it's established, marriage was established even before the church. So there are people in ministry who ignore the marriage, and they run behind the church. But the reality is that the marriage covenant is more significant than most things. And family is more significant than a lot of the things that we ignore. Right? So let's not underplay the significance of marriage, and let's not take for granted the spiritual backdrop, what's happening in the spirit realm when two people are joined together. What must be understood about marriage as well, and I'll get back to you shortly, Buena, is that marriage, a lot of people treat marriage as a contract and not a covenant.
That was my next question. That was my next question. You just said, you stated correct. Yes. You just stated that marriage is a covenant. However, there have been, in the olden days, even now, there are arrangements that are business transactions or even arranged marriages. And where do those aspects of it fit in, those elements of marriage fit in to what you are describing now in terms of it being a covenant? Right.
An arranged marriage could be a covenant. You know, and when you look at arranged marriages, a lot of arranged marriages survive. They actually do quite well, right? Contrary to our beliefs, some of our beliefs, they actually do. They flourish. And I'll explain the difference between the contract and the covenant. Contracts are made in distrust. People sign contracts when they don't trust one another. I operate a business, and when people come to do business by me, I have them sign a contract because I have to be prudent as a businessman. They have to sign a contract because it's not a trust relationship. You have to sign a contract. When people get married, is deeper than a contract, is a covenant. Contracts are made in distrust. Covenants are made in unlimited trust. Contracts are signed in limited liability. Covenants are signed in unlimited liability. When you read the scripture in the New Testament, Paul wrote extensively, and he spoke to the husbands. He said, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. And here he says, as Christ gave himself for the church. And Paul is simply saying that a man must be prepared to lay down his very life for his wife. He must love his wife to the point where he would lay down his life for her. And that is unlimited love, unlimited trust, right? And there's a total difference between the concept of the contract and the covenant. Too many people treat marriage as a contract. And soon or later, they view the product and they feel as if the product that was advertised is not the product that they have in their hand at present, and they feel as if they just want to trade it in and get a new item. But that is not how it's supposed to work. We want to restore the respect and the reverence for the marriage covenant.
Okay. Now, you said earlier when I asked you about arranged marriages, you say there's nothing necessarily wrong with it because there are instances where many of them actually do survive. So my question is,
absolutely,
is it about the relationship surviving alone? Is it that survival aspect of it? And then if it's an arranged marriage, most of the times you don't really know the person. So how do you really love them if it is that, you're supposed to love someone as Christ loved the church?
Excellent question. The concept of arranged marriages is not necessarily a Christian concept, but I am speaking from a sort of an external view, looking at arranged marriages, and what I'm really treating with is the divorce rate with these arranged marriages. My belief is that one of the fundamentals in getting married is the concept of love. It is the bedrock. Love and trust. These are the bedrock, the basic, the fundamentals that must be laid when getting married from a Christian perspective.
Great.
However, there are people from other religions, other ethnicities who embrace the concept of arranged marriages, and they get along. I guess they grow to love each other.
Yeah. Now, they're telling me that I just have 3 minutes, but I have so much to talk about. Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is an issue that we're having in society. The family unit is being attacked, and it's affecting the parenting aspect of it, which is affecting the children, which is affecting crime, and it's a trickle-down effect. But anyways, okay, so let me talk a little bit about commitment. So we spoke about the issue of people shacking up, and that seems to be the order of the day. Common law relationships. I know people living together for years, almost 20 years, and they're not married. Why is it? Is it that we're in a society where we are afraid to commit?
Right. When it comes to shacking up versus marriage, let me expound on it a little bit. Verna and Trinidad and Tobago, I'd like us to understand that when people come together and they have a covenant between a man and a woman, I believe today is important to highlight that. In the presence of God, there are forces that are assigned to attack these unions, because Satan, the devil, our enemy, it is my firmest conviction, fights against marriage because it shows love. I'll tell you something, Vernon, Trinidad and Tobago. As long as we can get marriage right, we could get the fabric of our society correct. You see, these issues with crimes, you see every time you go on your phone and you go on Facebook and you see carnage and you see violence and you see just a nation that is spiraling out of control. Crime, a small nation out of control. It's not that we're getting out of control. No. The feeling I get is that we are already out of control. The horse has already left the stable. we have to get family right, and we have to deal with it seriously. What I want us to understand is that, and I know we have limited time, is that no matter how much money we feed this crime monster, and we throw in the money in national security, and we throw in the money in all sorts of programs, and to no avail. It appears that this crime monster enjoys eating up resources. It enjoys eating money. And another strategy must be employed, because this is a crisis situation. And this is what Marriage Matters is about. We want to prevent a lot of the domestic violence. We want to prevent the delinquency. We want the home, the godly order to be reestablished in the homes. And if we could get the home right, we could get the community right. And if we get the community right, my God, we get the nation right.
Pastor Joseph, your closing remarks, just remind us quickly, when is this conference on, Marriage Matters 2?
Right, Marriage Matters 2, Scarborough Auditorium, Tobago, Saturday, January 20th, 2018. Registration starts at 3:30 p.m. The actual function starts at 4 p.m. We have a panel, a cadre of wonderful Christian soldiers in the persons of Pastor Roland Bacchus and his lovely wife, Minister Bacchus. We have Pastor Priska Woods and his lovely wife, Minister Woods. And last but certainly not least, my Bishop Basil Edwards and his darling wife, Pastor Edwards. They'll be hosted by yours truly, Pastor Paul, and my loving wife, Sister Fiona Joseph. We're hoping to see you there.
Pastor Joseph, thank you so much. It's definitely been a pleasure chatting with you. We hope to do a follow-up segment sometime next week, if possible. Certainly. I'd like to close this interview by just quoting what you said. As long as we get marriage right, we can get the fabric of society back on track. Food for thought. We take a short break and return with more. Stay tuned.